and then we'll be talking about really important pieces of information. If you leave this session, that I hope that you'll remember. Since our time is so short today, I really do want to just give some top level information. And what's really, really important to remember is that every single student has an assigned financial aid counselor. And that counselor can be found on our main page, which is american.edu/financial aid. And on the left navigation, you'll see contact us. When you click that, you'll go down to where it says financial aid counselors, and everybody's assigned by the first or second initial of their last name, first and second initial of their last name. And so you simply select from the drop-down menu the initial of your last name, and you'll be given the direct contact information of your assigned financial aid counselor. And so if ever you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. Your counselor is always available via email, and we ask that you contact us using financialaid@american.edu. Now you're probably thinking, hey, this is a general email box. We've actually leveraged technology so that it will recognize your assigned, your university assigned email address and forward the inquiry directly to your assigned counselor. And if your counselor's on vacation or out of office, the good news is that this allows us and your counselor's team to be able to help you, even if they're not on campus or at work at the time of your inquiry. So I always believe things in threes. So the very first thing is, whenever we email you, we don't spam our students. We will let you know that it's either important information or that action is required. If you see the heading action required, and then whatever it is, please make sure that you respond to our emails very as quickly as possible. The next thing to remember is that we require that our students complete the FAFSA every year. If you're receiving need-based aid from us, that's an AU grant, that's the federal Pell work study or loans, you'll need to complete that FAFSA. If you're simply receiving a scholarship from us, and that's all that you're receiving, then you don't need to complete the FAFSA. Also important to note, federal work study is akin to a part-time job. Our students who are awarded work study are paid for the hours that they work and receive either direct deposit or a paper check. And that money is given directly to the student and not applied to the student bill. So those are the three things that you should know now. Very important for our students and our parents to know. We have to conduct an audit at the end of each year to make sure that students are still eligible to receive aid in the upcoming year. And in order for students to retain a merit scholarship, they must obtain a 3.0 cumulative grade point average and be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours each semester, because 12 credit hours is deemed full-time. Lastly, students have to complete 2/3 of all attempted credits, right? And so when we conduct that audit, that's what we'll be looking for those who receive a merit scholarship from us. For those who are receiving grant funding from us or federal assistance in the form of Pell Grant or federal work study or loans, the minimum grade point average requirement is 2.0. Okay, so if you're a merit scholarship recipient also receiving need-based aid, your minimum standard is 3.0 to make sure that you continue to receive your merit scholarship. Okay, now this is just a review, I'm sure, for everybody on this call. If you haven't already, please log into your MyAU portal and accept your financial aid. if you fail to accept your financial aid, it will not show up on your bill. And it will look as if the full amount is due. It will not deduct the pending aid. Now you notice I said pending aid. When a student accepts the aid, it will show up and be deducted from the amount due, but it will not disperse until right around the first day of class. And that has nothing to do with AU, that has to do with the federal government not allowing institutions to disperse funds until the student has begun class. If we've requested information from you, please submit that to our office as soon as possible. To submit verification documents, you'll see the address right there. If you type that in, it will authenticate your identity, pre-populate with all of your information, and that way you can just append and submit the documents that we're requesting. If you've decided to borrow loans, please complete the entrance counseling requirement on the studentaid.gov website. Your loans will not disperse until you complete both the entrance counseling and the master promissory note requirement. And then for those who've been awarded federal work study, you're not required to work, but if you'd like to work, please feel free to go to american.edu/student-jobs. This site lists positions for work study, as well as just regular student wage positions on campus. Important to note, not all jobs indicate that it's strictly for work study. Our work study students can apply for and receive work study funds for any job posting. It will specifically state if a particular listing or posting is not work study eligible. All right, and lastly, and like I said, I know that I'm going through this really quickly, but I want to give us enough time so that I can answer any questions that you've put into the chat. Here is a timeline of what to anticipate over the next year. And so we're in July now. If you've accepted the aid on your MyAU portal, then you will see the aid posted as pending on your bill. That means that whatever you've accepted will be deducted from the amount that's due. Two things will not appear on your bill as pending. If you're receiving funding from an outside scholarship agency, meaning not from AU or from another entity, that will remain as an estimated aid award until we receive the check from that organization. Once we do, we'll credit the funds to your account and it will move from being pending to actually dispersed, right? And then the next type of aid that will remain as estimated on your account for the moment are any private loans that a student secures until those funds are received, at which point we then change the estimated to the actual dispersed amount. Notice I mentioned that the federal government will not allow us to disperse funds until classes begin. So right there in that blue and red, you'll see that financial aid will be dispersed right around the first day of class. The next big piece is that our office will send out reminders to all of our students, letting them know, hey, here are the requirements to make sure that you retain your aid, that you're able to renew it. And then we remind you that the FAFSA, which would typically have been available in October, will be available sometime in December. The federal government are making some significant changes to the application process. And so they are delaying the availability of the FAFSA next year until December. So that's really important. So we're going to encourage all of our students and families, when you're on winter break, to go ahead and complete that FAFSA and just get it out of the way. We in March engage in an aggressive FAFSA campaign. Again, if our students fail to submit a FAFSA application, if our students who are receiving need-based assistance don't submit the application by the May 1 deadline, then they're at risk of losing some of their eligibility, because we will award all of our students that have met that deadline. And then if there's any funding left, we'll consider those applications that are late. In late May, we begin the audit that I was telling you about. That satisfactory academic progress audit is required by law. And we have to wait until all grades are in before we can actually conduct that audit. And so we wait until the end of the spring semester before we review and notify our students that they have either met the satisfactory academic progress requirements or not. And we send out those notifications right around that last weekend in May, first week in June. We will award all of our students who've submitted the documentation that they needed to, who've submitted their application by July 1. Now that's significantly later for a lot of students and families than this year. And so that's why we note that we're unable to award our students until we determine that they've met the minimum standards of their award. That review can't happen until all grades for the year have been submitted, and that's typically in late May. So throughout the month of June, we are running the audits and notifying our students of their aid for the upcoming year, and we'll have that all done by July 1. Okay. That is the end of my presentation. And so I would like to see if there are any questions. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat and I will try to answer them within the time that we have remaining. So I do see, and I don't know, my OLs, if you wouldn't mind, it's hard for me to scroll the messages to see which ones. Right, so I have a message, a question about the Parent Plus loan from one of our attendees. And so, yes, the Parent Plus loan is available for adoptive and biological parents. And so this loan is offered through the Department of Education. And you would apply by going to the studentaid.gov website and indicating that you're a parent, and then it'll give you the option to apply for the plus. Please be sure to apply for the plus loan that is specifically designated as the Parent Plus, because there are other loans that are named plus but are for graduate students. So please be sure to select the correct loan. From there, you'll be able, so one, the student would have had to have completed a FAFSA in order for you to apply for the plus. Two, when you're there, you'll need to provide your information and they'll link the student to your application based on the information you provide. And then once you apply, they're going to run a credit check. If you meet the minimum credit criteria, then you'll get an approval immediately, at which point you can indicate how much you'd like to borrow. And then you'll also have the option of selecting that you'd like to borrow the maximum. The maximum amount that any parent can borrow on behalf of their student is the cost of attendance, which this year is $76,176 minus any aid the student has received. So that difference is what the parent can borrow up to in the Parent Plus loan. And so you can elect to borrow the maximum amount, at which point we'll do that calculation and approve the certification once it comes through from the Department of Education. Parents will also need to complete a master promissory note once they've submitted their application. The interest rate currently this year, and they're going to amend that, is 7.5%. And it's parents do have the option of deferring payment for up to 4 years. I caution my students and parents that interest will accrue on the loan even while in deferment. So even if you're in deferment, I do strongly suggest that you make the interest payments, which will be far less than going into repayment, but will allow you to, once you go into repayment, to only have the amount that you initially borrowed as the amount of repayment. Okay, my daughter has recently received, okay, I'm so sorry. Right, so as I indicated, if you're receiving a hold message on there, it's because the federal government will not allow us to release funds until the first week of class. Who's eligible for the Pell Grant? Well, the Department of Education makes that determination, and it is based on the financial information submitted on your free application for federal student aid, that FAFSA. And so Pell Grant eligibility are for families who have an expected contribution number of anywhere between 0 all the way up to, I believe the threshold this year was $58.94. Okay, it says generally it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for us to be able to process loans. And that's the reason that I tell my students and families, once you accept the loan on the MyAU portal, you also need to complete the master promissory note and the
Okay, we have a little over a minute, maybe 2 minutes left.
oh goodness, I'm so sorry that I did not get to all of your questions. I do see that some of these questions have to do with, actually a lot of these questions have to do with billing. Please attend the AU Central session, which will go over pieces around health insurance waivers, around the bill, around what you will see on the bill, whether it includes funding for tuition and meals and housing. So all those questions will be answered in that session. So yes, we do award aid per academic year. And so we will process aid for the upcoming 24-25 academic year in the summer, once we've run the satisfactory academic progress audit. I think that is the only. If you have changes to your financial circumstances, please reach out to your financial aid counselor, to your designated counselor. They will help you walk through that process. We do have an appeal or petition process that you can go through, just depending on the nature of the change in your circumstances. 2 more questions. All right. Sorry if I did not get a chance to answer your question. Please do not hesitate to reach out to your counselor. They're happy to answer any question that you have.